Om Ajnana Tivanasya Chinansala Shlakam Shakshvanmritam Yena Tasmai Shgurve Namah Chitchetayamanopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutaleshvam Upakadamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shiru Shiyuda Padakamanam Shigum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivashakam Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jyatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamama Haripriye Pancha Kalptrubhisha Kripa Snabhavisha Patnam Bhavanvyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this evening we continue to discuss text 5 from Nectar of Devotion. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvashesha Sunyavati Paskachai Desatani. We were discussing text 5 of Nectar of Instruction. I repeat the verse again. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti sat pranati bisa bhajantamisam susosaya bhajana vishyam ananyamanyam nindati sunya ridam ipsita sankhalabhya. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisance to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation Diksha and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So this verse gives us 3 levels of devotees. And we have heard in the previous verse the 6 loving exchanges between devotees, that which means that one shares one's mind in confidence with another devotee, another devotee hears it, one offers prasad, one receives prasad, one offers gifts, one receives gifts. But that should be done, this Prabhupada writes, this 6-fold loving reciprocation should be done with discrimination, careful discrimination. That and therefore we must know who is advanced, who is not advanced. This verse says that one should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Krishna, even once. So that's the lowest level, the Kanistha. One should offer obeisance to a devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation. So that's the madhyam of that, and the third one is one who has lost who is completely void of the propensity to criticize others. A pure devotee, that's the highest class. So last week we started discussing the symptoms of the Kanistha Adhikar, and we will today continue discussing from the Bhagavatam verse 11 to 47, a verse spoken by Javier Yogendra to King Nimi. And King Nimi had asked, please, what are the symptoms, the characteristics of different kinds, different levels of devotees? And Abhay Yogenda replies and gives the symptoms of the Kanistha Adhikar, the Madhyama Adhikar, and the Uttama Adhikar. So we start to discuss this purport. We'll continue with that. So I'm reading. Another symptom of the Kanistha Adhikari is that he is infatuated by the material qualifications of so-called great materialistic persons. Having a body concept of life himself, he is attracted by material opulence and thus minimizes the position of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Such a Kanistha Adhikari therefore is disturbed if a second-class devotee criticizes the non-devotees of the Lord. In the name of compassion or kindness, a Kanistha Adhikari approves the non-devotional activities of such materialistic man. So this is the one of the characteristics Srila Prabhupada gives here in this purport. We know Prabhupada many times criticized modern society and the conditioned soul. And this is just to teach us, not that he is criticizing others, but he is warning us not to adopt their mentality. But yes, the Kanistha, he does not know what are the symptoms of one who is spiritually advanced, and he sees only the external. That he sees things in the realm of materialistic achievements. That so I continue reading. Because the Kanistha Adhikari's ignorance of the higher realms of devotional service and the unlimited transcendental bliss of Krishna consciousness, he sees the devotional service merely as a religious aspect of life, but the thing that life has many enjoyable and worthwhile non-devotional aspects. It's like many people also in India, they come once a week to the temple, but they think, yeah, I've just religion, but religion is not the goal of my life. That is, it's just an aspect of my life. That and there is no understanding of what the process of self-realization really means. So it is said, therefore, he becomes angry when the second-class devotees who are experienced that Krishna is everything criticize the non-devotees. That Madhvacharya says that such a person, because of his rudimentary faith in Krishna, is considered a devotee, but his Bhakta Adam, a devotee of the lowest standard. If such materialistic devotees follow the rules and regulations of deity worship, they will gradually be elevated to a higher standard and eventually become pure devotees of the Lord, unless they commit offenses against other devotees, in which case their advancement will be checked. So sometimes there is a confusion. Kanistha Adhikar he may be initiated, he may be not initiated. It doesn't make any difference as long as one has a Kanistha mentality when it's on that platform, and it is a very broad spectrum, the Kanistha. The Kanistha, you are Kanishthas who are nearly liberated, and you are Kanishthas who are really in the beginning of the process. And we are speaking about Kanishthas here in the beginning of the process, that they become attracted to also not only to devotional presentations of Bhagavad Gita or Vaishnava presentations, but many times also to other presentations by non-devotees, impersonalists, by scholars, that and by that they commit offenses. They are still thinking. They are still thinking in terms of attachment and aversion in this world. And they, Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport that before one asks for initiation, one should be convinced that there is no pleasure in this world, that there is only suffering. Because the pleasure in this world is just an absence of suffering in reality. Now, Madhvacharya he states that Tadbhaktanam upekshaka koyo vishnav apidvasham. Those who neglect or show indifference to the devotees of the Lord are to be considered offenders at the lotus feet of Vishnu. Similarly, those who disrespect the demigods will become bereft of devotional service and be forced to rotate again and again within samsara, the cycle of birth, of death. So demigods are also devotees. We don't worship them. They worship Krishna, but we don't disrespect them. When Lord Chaitanya was traveling in South India, he was visiting all the temples of the demigods and offers respect, that Puja Devas Tada Sada. The demigods are always to be offered respect, since they are devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If someone is envious of the demigods, he is to be considered envious of the Personality of Godhead. Similarly, one who offers sincere respect to the demigods is considered to be respecting the will of the Supreme Lord. A Vaishnava does not foolishly think that there are many gods. He knows that there is one Supreme Personality of Godhead. But as stated many times in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord has a mission within this material world, which is to reform the conditioned living entities through the cruel laws of nature. In the Lord's mission within this world, the demigods are to be considered limbs of the Lord's body. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kamashtairtaritahyana Prabhatyante Nadevata Tam Tam Nyanamastaya Prakritya Nyatasvaya. Those whose mind are distorted by material desires surrender to demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own nature. There are many examples of devotees who worship the demigods to get benedictions for serving Lord Krishna. The gopis worship the demigods to achieve Krishna, and similarly Rukmini Devi, on the day of her marriage, engaged in such a demigod worship, her only goal being Krishna. Even today, the preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement cultivate important people with all kindness and diplomacy, so that such wealthy or influential people will engage their resources in the devotional service of Krishna. to glorify Krishna all over the world. Similarly, offering all respect to the demigods so that they will give facility for devotional service of Krishna is not against bhakti marg, although nowadays such demigod worship has also deteriorated. So sometimes we see in Vrindavan that the residents of Vrindavan are doing puja for demigods. But they are doing puja for demigods. But according to the Vedas, that the demigods, what is their position in the sacrifice of Lord Vishnu? The demigods are considered intermediate. That it's like we are offering, making an offering to the demigods, and the demigods, they are offering that to Lord Vishnu. They are intermediates. That I think the Shakyamania, that's or the priest will offers on behalf. So the demigods are offering on behalf, because that is the Vedic system. That this is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, that in the second chapter, I think, in the second chapter, that where Krishna starts to speak, obviously in the third chapter, Krishna starts to speak about Shakya. I think it's in the third chapter that where Krishna says that, yeah, since this Jahya, it's here, it's Bhagavad Gita 3.10. So Krishna is set in 3.9, Jachnarta karmanoya tralokayam karma bandhanam. One should perform sacrifice for Lord Vishnu, and then one comes free from karma. But in the next verse it says that, yes, sa ajahya prajashistva purvacha prajapati anena prasavityapyam yadvam esavo vista kamaduk. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this Shakya, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. Then in the next verse, it Devam bhavayatan inate deva bhavayantuyam prashparam bhavayanta shreya param avapshata. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus by cooperation between demigods, prosperity will reign. So we perform this Jahya for Vishnu, for the satisfaction of Vishnu, and then the demigods will be pleased by this sacrifice and also will please you. That principle is also explained in the Bhagavatam. If you offer water to the root of a plant, of a tree, then also the trunk, the branches, the leaves, everything benefits. So if we do sacrifice for Vishnu, that sacrifice includes the demigods, because they're also part and parcel of Krishna. And they are also satisfied. But sometimes in Vrindavan we see that they are doing puja for the demigods, but the purpose is always to get the benediction, a benediction that helps us to advance in devotional service. Like it's mentioned there, the gopis were worshipping the goddess Katyayani to get Krishna as their husband. Rukmini, she worshipped the goddess Durga also to get Krishna as her husband. That, but one time, there was a small interruption. That I bring a verse again on the screen. So I was saying a devotee was asking Prabhupada, can we worship Ganesh? That Prabhupada said, yes, you can worship Ganesh, but the condition is that you give me at least $100,000 a month. So in other words, he did not recommend worshipping Ganesh. That also it is in nectar of devotion that one can worship Ganesh to take away the obstacles of the path of devotional service. Therefore, it's in nectar of devotion we put a picture of Ganesh at the end, above the entrance of the temple, at the temple door, that so that devotees can pray to Ganesh to take away the obstacles for devotional service. That's in nectar of devotion. So therefore it says here now that similarly offering all respect to the demigods so that they will give facility for the devotional service of Krishna is not against the bhakti marg, although nowadays such demigod has also deteriorated. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Harinama Sankirtan, chanting the holy names of Krishna as the only realistic process for this age. Nonetheless, a devotee of the Lord should not misinterpret Bhagavad Gita's injunctions against demigods as a license to offend the demigods who are bona fide Vaishnavas. So we should be careful. We don't worship them, but we respect them. Prabhupada said also in the morning when the sun comes up, we offer our respect to Surya and bow down when we see the sun the first time. That we offer respect. Srila Madhvacharya notes, Vishnu upekshakam sarve vitvishanchaya adhikam sura patatya vasyam tamasi harina taisa patita. All the demigods are extremely inimical to one who does not respect Lord Vishnu. Such a person is pushed into the darkest region by the Lord as well as by the demigods. That's quite a statement because most people in this world do not give respect to God. Many of them are atheistic. That it is such persons is pushed into the darkness region by the Lord. So where is that in Bhagavad Gita? That then is said in 16:19. Tamam tvisata koram samsaresu naradanam kshipam ajasyamasubam ashref eva jonisu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest men, are perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. So Krishna decides what's our next body. So it's not good to be inimical to him. he controls everything. But all the demigods are extremely inimical to one who does not respect Lord Vishnu. So it means also there is communication. Like Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna is all-pervading. The demigods are also all-pervading in this material world. Like Agni, everywhere there is heat, he's there. Everywhere there is fire, he's there. So yes, Varuna, everywhere there is water, Varuna is conscious, that because he controls these energies. So we cannot hide anything. All the demigods see us every moment. That therefore, like a devotee will never take a bath naked. He knows the demigods are looking. So this is awareness. Such a person is pushed into the dark region by the Lord as well as by the demigods. For these statements by Srila Madhvacharya, the devotional sentiments of the demigods can be understood. It is stated that in the supreme liberation achieved by an Uttamadikar, the most exalted devotee of the Lord, the devotee enjoys transcendental bliss in the direct association of the Supreme Lord and the demigods. So now, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, since the Kanistha Adhikari, who cannot properly respect other devotees, will certainly fail to offer respect to ordinary living entities who are not even devotees, and a Kanistha Adhikari is useless for practical preaching work unless it comes to a higher platform of understanding. Because a Kanistha on the lowest platform has no realizations that he does not really know what devotional life means. He's in the beginning stage. We are speaking about the beginning stages of the Kanistha. Srila Jiva Goswami says, Iyam sashrada na sastrachta vadarana jata, because the Kanistha Adhikari's faith is not actually based on the statements of the Vedic literature. He cannot understand the exalted position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within everyone's heart. So his faith is very weak, and by others who preach other philosophies, he can easily be convinced that because it's not rooted in the scriptures. Whereas the Madhyam Adhikar, of those who act as the Madhyam Adhikar, is rooted in the scriptures. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there are different statements with regarding faith that they are in different chapters. So in one verse, Krishna says one who is faithful in this transcendental knowledge, that he will attain the fruits of bhakti. But one way of this transcendental knowledge. But one who is not faithful, that he cannot attain any happiness in this life nor in the next. So faith is very important for making spiritual advancement. 9.3 Ashradodana Purusha Dharmasya Saparantaba Aprapyamam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me or conquer of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So, also when one studies Bhagavad Gita, there must be faith. In the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada writes that one should at least accept theoretically that Krishna is God. And then the study of this Bhagavad Gita will be helpful, fruitful, and one's faith will develop. That so Krishna says, one who is not faithful cannot attain me. That so this is because what's described here is the Kanistha, the lowest devotee, and he has low faith and no knowledge, practically. The Madhyamadikar, he has strong faith, but his knowledge is not perfect. And the Uttamadikar is perfect knowledge and has full faith, unflinching faith. That, but faith, as mentioned here, one gets by study Bhagavad Gita, by hearing from the spiritual master, and by observing the spiritual master and understand how he's advanced. That by study of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, one understands the spiritual techniques, start to apply them, and gets realizations, and that brings faith. But when one does not study the scriptures, faith will remain sentimental. Prabhupada explains that also. I think in the 9th chapter, there he speaks about that. That faith based on not based on knowledge is sentimentalism. That and knowledge without faith or religion, faith, that is dry speculation. So both should be there, and in balance. That's important. But faith one gets through knowledge. Knowledge is strengthening faith. So his faith is not actually based on the statements of the Vedic literature. He cannot understand the exalted position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he cannot actually manifest love of God, nor can he understand the exalted position of the devotees of the Lord. That and that is a fact. If one have the statements of Bhagavad Gita, one must have faith in these statements, and try to apply them. That if Krishna says that for one who takes birth will die, that we can observe, we can say it's easy to have that faith. But then Krishna says, one who dies will take birth again. And that may not be in our direct experience, although we have undergone it so many times. But then that means there must be reincarnation. That and then the faith in reincarnation comes. that how can I believe in reincarnation? Krishna explains the laws of karma. That reincarnation only can explain all the difference between the people who are born. Different situations means it's due to different karma. We can understand that one gets the results of his previous activities. That besides that, there are many proofs of reincarnation that we cannot go into that, but there are many proofs of reincarnation. That so thus, but yeah, it said here, Lord Krishna is so glorious that Krishna's intimate associates must also be glorious. But this is unknown to Kanistha Adhikari. So he believes in Krishna, but does not behave proper towards the devotees. And that is an issue. And that's very dangerous. It's dangerous to stay in a neophyte position. That so similarly, the essential qualification of a Vaishnava, which is to offer respect to others, amanya manadena kirtaniya sadahari, is also conspicuous by its absence in a Kanistha Adhikari. If such a person, however, has faith in the Vedic literature and tries to understand the statements of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, he will gradually be elevated to the second and first class stages of devotional service. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, a Kanistha Adhikari should be very seriously engaged in regulated worship of the deity. So worship of the deity will help us to advance. That so one can get brahminical initiation, but one is still a Kanistha. Does not mean that one is a Madhyam, but we are a good candidate to become a Madhyam. That because the spiritual master sees that you have qualities and developing gradually devotional qualities. The qualities of a devotee, 26 qualities of a pure devotee mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and all the spiritual qualities mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So the deity is a particular incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord Krishna can present himself before the worshipper in 5 different manifestations, namely his original form as Krishna, Para, is quadruple expansions, Vyuha, his pastime incarnations, Vaibhav, the super soul, Antaryami, and the deity, Arsha. Within the deity form, Arsha is a super soul who in turns included within the Lord's pastimes forms, within the Lord's pastimes form, that the Lord's Vaibhav, this becomes technical, that but what Krishna says, the original form is Krishna, Para, or Krishna's two Bharavans Svayam. Then we know the first expansion is Balaram, and from Balaram comes this Vyuha, this quadruple expansion, Vasudev, Sankarsam, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vaikuntha expansions. But also from these comes also his pastimes incarnations, Vaibhav, pastime incarnations, like Lord Ram, that Lord Nrsimhadev, Lila avatars. And the super soul, that's Kshirodakashai Vishnu, the Purusha avatars, 3 Purusha avatars who takes care of the creation. Karnodakashai Vishnu, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, who enters each universe. And from Garbhodakasaya comes Kshirodakasaya Vishnu, the Vishnu who is the Antaryama, the super soul, and enters in every atom. That these are all pastimes forms in the material world, and are part of this Vaibhav. It is a Vaibhav. That so the Supreme Lord's Vaibhav Prakash is an emanation of the Satyr Vyuha. The quadruple expansion of the Lord is situated within the Supreme Truth, Vasudeva, who himself is situated within the Svayam Prakash Tattva. This Svayam Prakash Tattva consists of expansions of the ultimate Svayam Rupa Tattva, the original form of Krishna within Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual world. So what is said here, you have Krishna is the origin of all incarnations. And from Krishna comes Balaram, that's Krishna is the Svayam Rupa, the original form. And he incarnates in Vaibhav forms and in Vibhinamsa. Vibhinamsa we are the Vibhinamsa, the Jivas. And the Vaibhav form is pastime. Is pastime expansions. So if you don't get that, no problem. This hierarchy of the expansions of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world is realized even within the material world in terms of one's eagerness to render service to the Lord. A beginner in the lowest stage of devotional service should try to dedicate all his activities to the satisfaction of the Lord and cultivate the worship of Krishna in the temple. So therefore temple worship is important for all of us. Even if you are Vishyasta, you worship at home the temple, the deity, unless you are living in the temple. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, all the plenary expansions of the Lord mentioned above descend in this world and enter within the deity, who exhibits the function of the super soul by accompanying the daily life of a Vaishnava. So sometimes Muslims, they say God is all pervading. And we also say that as a super soul is all pervading, is in every atom. If he's in every atom, then he must also be in the deity. So although the Vaibhav or pastime expansion of the Lord incarnate at specific times, and then Prabhupada mentions the Brahma Samhita, Ramarda Mukti Kalani Amena Tishtam. This verse of Brahma Samhita says that there are as many incarnations of the Lord as there are waves in the ocean. But they come at specific time. The super soul and data form are constantly available for spiritual advancement of the devotee in this world. So the super soul and the data are always there. As one comes to the Madhyamadikar platform, one is able to understand the expansions of the Lord, where the Kanistha Adhikar's entire knowledge of the Lord is limited to the deity. Yeah. So, nonetheless, Krishna is so kind that to encourage even the lowest class of Vaishnavas, he condenses all of his various forms into the deity, so that by worshipping the deity, the Kanistha Adhikar devotees worshipping all the forms of the Lord. As the devotee makes advancement, he can understand these forms as they disappear in their own way, as they appear in their own way, both within this world and in the spiritual sky. So it means all these forms are described of these deities are of Vishnu Tattva, they are described in the Vedas. And they are also in the spiritual sky. So you may have deities of Lakshman, Ram, Lakshman, you have Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman, but they are also in the spiritual sky. Lord Ram has his own planet there, Ayodhya, where Hanuman and Lakshman and Sita is. That also in the spiritual world, you have Narasingha Dev has his own planet. All these forms are really existing in the spiritual world. That the dates are made according to these forms. That they must be made according to the forms described in the Vedas. So here it is said that the importance for us in the beginning is to perform deity worship. That by performing deity worship, we gradually become regulated in devotional service. I remember when I did was Pujari and Radhadesh, it was you must very regulated in the morning and the evening, and you must be there on time. That and a lot of procedures in deity worship to go through, and you are really dealing this, because the deity is the Supreme Lord. So you are really dealing with the Supreme Lord. That and it's so purifying if you are doing that regulated, especially the worship of Radha Krishna. But Radha Krishna can only be done when you are somewhat purified, because otherwise, when you make offenses to Radha Krishna, that is serious. To Gaunitai is very merciful. That, but it is a way, the deity is there to reciprocate with us and to elevate us, that by service. And that's important. Prabhupada said all Hyastas should worship Gaunitai at home, that if they are not living in the temple. That so as long as one remains on the third class platform, one has no transcendental appreciation of the blissful reality of the Supreme Lord's paraphernalia and entourage. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with King Prataparudra when the king, upon receiving an outer cloth of the Lord, immediately installed it as a deity and began to worship it as being as good as the Lord himself. So the paraphernalia of the Lord are as good as the Lord himself. Lord Shiva himself stated, Tasma Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Smaransanam. Worship of the paraphernalia entourage or devotees of the Lord is even better than worship of the Lord, because the Lord is more pleased by worship of his devotees and entourage than by worship of himself personally. This is very important, that because it is in the scriptures, worship of the Lord's devotee is higher worship than worship of Lord Vishnu. And that is a problem with the neophyte. The neophyte cannot understand who is a devotee and does not give the proper respect to the devotees, and he makes offenses. That so worship of the paraphernalia entourage or devotees of the Lord is even better than worship of the Lord, because the Lord is more pleased by worship of his devotees and entourage by him, by worship of himself personally. So that brings also the point of devotee care. It's very, very important to take care of the devotees properly, so that they are pleased. That our own Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj, he would always take care of devotees. That was very important for him. Even a visitor, he would take care of them with, that with great affection. Even also with his god brothers, that he would give them gifts and so on, always very attentive. But a Kanistha cannot understand this importance and makes offenses. That according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the inability of the Kanistha Adhikar to appreciate the Lord's devotees and encourage and paraphernalia indicates that such a materialistic Vaishnava is still affected by the speculative understanding of the Karmavadis and Mayavadis. So Karmavadis, they think that karma is supreme, especially those of the Karma Mimamsa, and that they think there's no God. If you do pious deeds, then you will get good reactions, and that's it. And the Mayavadis, of course, are the impersonalists who deny the existence of Krishna or deny his divine position. So, and also those who are dedicated to sense gratification and impersonal speculation about the absolute. Srila Prabhupada often said that only the impersonalist desires to see Krishna alone. We desire to see Krishna with the cows, his friends, his parents, his gopis, his flute, jewelry, forest scenery, and so on. Krishna is gorgeous in the setting of Vrindavan. It is the land of Vrindavan that Lord Krishna, surrounded by so many beautiful associates, manifests his exalted, indescribable beauty. Similarly, the unique mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is exhibited in the activities of his pure devotees, who selflessly travel around the universe distributing the dust particles from Krishna's lotus feet on the heads of the conditioned souls. One who is uninterested in the Lord's paraphernalia, entourage, and devotees has a stunned conception of the personality of Godhead. This must be due to the contamination from the impersonal and sensuous understanding of life. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that after hundreds of lifetimes of faithfully worshipping the deity of Lord Vasudeva with external paraphernalia, one realizes the true nature of his transcendental name and mantras, and the bondage of one's materialistic mentality slackens. So he says about hundreds of lifetimes that in this way, as a Kanistha gradually comes to perceive the mental activities of a devotee and tries seriously to advance to a higher stage, his materialistic conception will go away of their own accord. He then exhibits loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and makes friendship with the devotees who are the dearest sons of the Lord, and by appreciating the universal qualities of devotional service to Krishna, he becomes very much eager to engage other innocent people in the service of the Lord. Further, as he begins to make significant advancement, he becomes inimical to anything of anyone that hinders the progress of his devotional life, and thus he avoids atheistic people who cannot benefit by good instruction. So we see here the neophytes start to advance that but I started to call it to understand that being a devotee is an internal development and not external. And he has to change his mentality. And from the moment that comes, he starts to advance. He starts to understand text number 2 of Nectar of Instruction and text 3, what he should avoid and what he should do, really. And then he starts to see that and start to develop friendship with devotees. So and appreciate them. So that's very important. That appreciating devotees. That it is good to when we appreciate the devotees, his good qualities, then we develop these qualities. If we see faults in others, we develop these faults. And that's the problem with the Kanistha, that so yes, I think I will read also the last paragraph, then we can finish the Kanistha Adhikar here. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness, founded by His Divine Grace on Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivakacharya and Astotara Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, is so nice that anyone who helps this society immediately engage in preaching work for the Lord. Thus, there is the great facility for the members of the society to become quickly to the second class stage of devotional service. If in the name of Krishna consciousness one gives up preaching and instead becomes interested simply in collecting funds for maintenance, is showing a type of envy of other living entities. This is a symptom of the third class devotee, according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Verse 45 to 47 constitute the answer to King Nim's two questions. What is the nature of devotional service to the Lord? And what are the specific duties of Vaishnavas? So yes, by that, what Prabhupada says here, from the moment we engage in preaching work, trying to give Krishna consciousness to others, and try to develop friendship for devotees and worship the Lord, then we are going to make spiritual advancement. Therefore, the ISKCON as a society is very important. Because it facilitates that, this friendship with devotees and the preaching work, and that is acting as the Madhyamadikar, and we will see next week the qualities and the symptoms of a Madhyam Adhikar, one who is halfway devotional service, one who is in principle on the liberated platform in its perfection. But one can act as a Madhyam Adhikar, but not be yet, but still be a Kanistha. But we have to learn to act as a Madhyam Adhikar, and that will bring us out, bring us from Kanistha to Madhyam. So, any comments, questions? That I think.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the class. So would you say that for us to come out of the level of the Kanistha Adhikar, the primary external instruction should be not to criticize other devotees? Is it, that seems like one of the most important things. Is that correct?
Yeah, but that is correct, but it's important to understand the cause why that is, because he has no knowledge. He has no knowledge. He doesn't know what the symptoms of a devotee are. It's all external. So he does not know who is advanced and who is not advanced. That is the point that Prabhupada made in the beginning of the purport. Unless one knows who is advanced and not advanced, one cannot properly engage in relation to other devotees and will make offenses. And that is the Kanistha. So that is a very important aspect here, that the Kanistha has faith in the deity but not in the devotees. That he doesn't have any knowledge of who is advanced because he sees everything external. The internal development, the good qualities of devotees, he does not see them. That humility, that surrender to Krishna, service attitude, that because he has himself no service attitude towards devotees. So that is lacking, and therefore he cannot see who is advanced, who is not advanced. He can not cultivate proper relationship with devotees, and he makes one offense after another, being still attracted to many aspects in the material world and to sense enjoyment and prestige and honor and so on. That it does not like when a preacher comes and tells him the truth, and tells him the truth by criticizing the materialistic way of life. So yes, that is are important lessons for us to learn. If we understand that, we can endeavor to come out of the materialistic way of life, the Kanistha way of life, and come to the level of at least thinking in terms of I'm the soul, not a body, and start to see spiritual qualities of advanced devotees. But it requires study of the scriptures, and study of the scriptures combined with serving devotees and worship the deity, then the Kanistha will start to advance. Does that help, Sharanacharya?
Yes. Thank you, Maharaj.
Good. Thank you very much. Good. Then we will continue next week. Next week, I will be again in Belgium for a few weeks. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada. Hare Bol.
प्रभा महाराज की जय. हरे कृष्ण.